Welcome to Midweek, Experiments in Faithfulness. This is a weekly program where we learn and grow with each other in community. My name is Brent, and I am the Program and Engagement Manager here at Beacon Hill Friends House. We are a Quaker Center for Learning right in the heart of downtown Boston. We're a home to Beacon Hill Friends Meeting, and we're also a residential community of about 20 people or so. So this is a series where we are learning about the Enneagram. If you're not familiar with it, you can check out the overview that I did called Why We Clash, Why We Click, where I kind of give a summary of all 9 Enneagram types. Since then, every 2 weeks, we've been taking a closer look at one Enneagram type at a time, looking at exactly what makes each one amazing, unique, and absolutely crucial in the world. So tonight we're going to take a deep dive into the Type 6, the Loyalist. Type 6s are fueled by a deep desire for security, stability, and guidance in an uncertain world. But what's really going on beneath the surface? Whether you're Type 6 yourself, love someone who is, or just want to get a better understanding of this unique personality type, this session will leave you with insights and tools to appreciate their perspective and support their journey. So today we're taking a deep dive into the Enneagram Type 6, the Loyalist. Sixes get a reputation for being worry warts. And sure, they do worry. But here's what doesn't get said enough. Type 6s are absolute experts at navigating fear. They live with it, work with it, move through it every single day. Sixes don't just see what could go wrong. They figure out how to make it through anyway. They're the ones scanning the horizon, spotting risks before anyone else even notices, and quietly making sure there's a plan in place for whatever might happen. And once they decide that they can trust you, they are in it, fully, faithfully for the long haul. Just like with the other types, we're going to wrap up today with a typing quiz to help you explore whether Type 6 feels like home for you. And as we go, I'll invite you to notice not just what you do, but why you do it. Fear and loyalty are at the core of this type, but they don't always show up in obvious ways. So take a deep breath, settle in, and get ready to meet Type 6, the steadfast, scrappy, ever watchful heart of the Enneagram. Sixes move through the world with their antenna up, always reading the room, scanning for signals, watching the patterns underneath the noise. It's a steady kind of watchfulness, not paranoid, not negative, just alert, always scanning for what could go wrong, who's reliable, and where the exits are. Because for a 6, safety isn't something you just stumble into, it's something you build. And they're building it all the time through loyalty, preparedness, and lining up their trusted people. Sixes need trustworthy allies because they're relational to their core. But trust has to be earned. And once it is, their loyalty runs deep. At the same time, this drive for certainty can be exhausting. The mind of a 6 rarely powers down, so there's always another what if waiting around the corner. That's why preparedness becomes sacred. If they can anticipate it, if they can handle it, if they're ready, they feel safe. But here's the beauty: beneath all that scanning and securing is incredible courage. Courage that shows up every single day, even with fear riding shotgun. Sixes might not feel brave, but every time they stay loyal, every time they stand up for what matters, Every time they keep going despite anxiety, that is courage. And when they're grounded in their truth, the truth that they're already brave, already resilient, already held, they become fierce protectors, trusted friends, steady anchors in a chaotic world. That's the power of type six. In just a little bit, we're going to be exploring two different types of sixes, the phobic six and the counterphobic six. They have the same underlying fears and motivations and the need for security, but they have different strategies, different approaches toward feeling safe and secure. So I'll get back to that shortly. Now, I want to show you some classic type six quirks. And listen, if you are a six, you've probably never thought of these as quirks. To you, they're just being prepared, being smart, staying ahead of the curve. But for the rest of us, it's a level of vigilance that we both admire and find a little exhausting. Sixes have plans and backup plans for their backup plans. While the rest of us are still winging it, they've already run three scenarios in their head, and they have got snacks and jumper cables in the trunk just in case. They're the people who look totally relaxed at the party, but if you ask them, they could tell you where every exit is. Knowing these things calms them down. Sixes care deeply. That's why they'll text you the second you leave. Did you get home okay? Before you even get your seatbelt on. Listen, their brain won't let them fully rest until they know that you're safe. They carry Tums and Advil and Band-Aids because they know that somebody's going to need it. There's this beautiful, quiet way that sixes hold the world together. They're scanning for what could go wrong because they care so much about making sure that we're all okay. That's not fear in its entirety. It's love in preparedness form. And while we might joke about their endless contingency plans, when the unexpected happens, we're all looking at the six, and thank goodness that they're ready. So here's the engine driving the type six, their core motivation. At the heart of a six is the deep desire to feel safe and secure in a world that doesn't always feel trustworthy. They're looking for something solid to stand on, a loyal friend or a belief system, a leader that they can count on, a structure that holds. And until they find that anchor, it's hard for the six to relax. Their minds keep scanning for cracks in the foundation, or weak spots in the plan, or hidden threats that could shake things up. But this isn't just fear for fear's sake, it is a profound sense of responsibility. Sixes want to protect what matters, to defend the people that they love, to make sure that no one gets blindsided on their watch. They feel most alive when they're actively troubleshooting, working things out with other people, standing up for the underdog, or holding the line alongside their trusted people. At their best, sixes embody loyalty and courage, dependability. But sometimes that loyalty gets tangled up with doubt, second guessing themselves, double checking others, or outsourcing their inner guidance to an outside authority. It's because they want so badly to get it right, to be prepared, to keep everyone, including themselves, safe. And when they trust their own inner wisdom, that's when a six truly shines. When we look under the hood of a type six, these are the fears quietly driving the engine. Sixes live with a deep, persistent worry. What if the people I depend on let me down? What if the structures I trust collapse? What if I'm left alone, unprotected, when everything falls apart? That fear of betrayal or abandonment can make it hard to fully trust. It's not that they don't want to trust, they absolutely do, but trust feels risky. So they scan and they test, they question these things to help them feel safe. Sixes are wired to anticipate worst case scenarios. They'd rather poke holes in the plan now than discover the flaws when it's too late. They'd rather stay skeptical and alert than be lulled into a false sense of security. And at the deepest level, there's a profound fear of helplessness, of being in a moment where they need help and no one shows up. That fear keeps them vigilant, prepared, and loyal to the people and systems that they believe will keep them safe. But when they learn to trust their own inner authority, when they stop giving all of their sense of safety to external sources, that's when the fear starts to loosen its grip. And that's when their true courage will shine. Now, here's something that makes the type 6 really unique. Because there are two different kinds of sixes, phobic and counterphobic, there are two different ways that sixes tend to respond to this fear that we just talked about. And honestly, they couldn't look more opposite. Phobic sixes move away from fear. When things feel threatening or unstable, their instinct is to seek safety by aligning with something or someone they can trust. They're loyal, cautious, and rule following. They want to make sure that they're protected by staying close to authority, community, or structure. That strength in numbers kind of mentality. This is the six who keeps their head down, plays it safe, and hopes that by being good and being prepared, nothing bad will happen. But then there's the counterphobic sixes. Counterphobic sixes move toward fear. When something scares them, they don't retreat. They push into it. They challenge it. They stand up and say, let's go. These sixes are bold, rebellious, provocative. They're testing authority instead of aligning with it. They're more likely to question the rules than follow them. They figure if they confront the danger head on, it won't have power over them. Same fear underneath, but a completely different strategy. And here's the kicker, sometimes a six will flip between the two, depending on the situation. They might be like, for instance, a phobic six at work, but then a counterphobic six in relationships. Or maybe they're a phobic six at home and counterphobic in their activism. On the outside, these two styles of six can look like totally different people. But at the core, they're both asking the same question. Where is the danger? And how do I stay safe? One tries to stay safe by keeping close, the other by pushing back. Neither is right or wrong. They're just two sides of the same loyal, protective, ever vigilant heart. Type 6 holds a powerful mix of strengths and challenges. And often they're two sides of the same coin. Their loyalty is unmatched. If you've earned a six's trust, you've got a ride or die partner who will stick by you through thick and thin. They're the ones showing up when others fall away, holding the line when things get tough. And let's be clear, it takes real courage to keep showing up while you're living with all of this fear. Sixes might feel anxious, but they act with a bravery that doesn't always get recognized. They're the quiet protectors, the ones thinking ahead and making sure that no one gets blindsided. They're incredible problem solvers. Their ability to spot risks and troubleshoot is a gift, one that helps families and teams and communities avoid unnecessary pain. Their caution isn't negativity, it's foresight. But with all that vigilant comes a cost. Sixes can struggle to trust their inner compass, especially if they've been burned before. They may second guess themselves, needing external validation before they feel confident moving forward. Fear of betrayal or abandonment can show up as testing others, projecting their doubts, or holding back their trust. Even in safe relationships, they might keep part of themselves reserved just in case. While loyalty is one of their most prized characteristics, that same loyalty can have a downside, keeping them in unhealthy situations like within their career or in their intimate relationships or in their friendships, long past the time when an exit would be justified. Walking away can feel a little too much like betrayal, which a type 6 would never want to inflict on anyone. Tension can lead to anxiety, over preparing, or imagining worst case outcomes that haven't happened, but may never happen. But when sixes learn to trust both themselves and the trustworthy people around them, their courage and loyalty create an unshakable foundation. They become fierce protectors, grounded collaborators, and the steady heart of any community they're a part of. When it comes to love, type 6 brings a fierce, protective loyalty to the table. Once a 6 decides you're trustworthy, they're all in. They're the ones standing beside you when things get messy, sticking it out when others would have walked away, quietly watching for threats you didn't even notice. Their love language is commitment, the steady kind that you can count on. But they also crave reassurance. For a 6, trust feels fragile. Do you still have my back? Or are we still okay? They're asking not because they doubt you, but because they're wired to expect the rug to get pulled out from under them. Fear of betrayal runs deep for a 6, and it shapes how they approach trust. They might test you, they might question you, they might need a little bit more time to believe that the relationship is actually solid. And as I said in the last slide, there's that shadow side to their loyalty. Sometimes a 6 will stay too long. They can hold on to an unhealthy relationship long past its expiration date, not because they're naive or misled, but because leaving can feel like betrayal. Because breaking loyalty, even for a good reason, feels scary. I mean, it takes time for a 6 to build a foundation strong enough to relax into, and it takes courage to admit when that foundation is no longer holding. At their best, 6s bring courage, humor, and steady love. They're playful, loyal, and willing to weather the storms of life right alongside you. They don't shy away from hard conversations or tough seasons. They lean in, committed and determined to protect what matters. A 6 in love isn't just a partner, they're a co pilot and a shield, a teammate in every sense of the word. Let's talk about what makes a type 6 angry. Not just the surface level stuff, but that deeper level anger that bubbles up when their core needs are stepped on. For 6s, broken promises aren't just disappointing, they're destabilizing. When they count on someone, they're handing over a piece of their security. If you say that you'll be there and then don't show, that's not a small miss. That's a breach of the trust that they worked so hard to give you. Betrayal or abandonment hits even harder. 6s might not show it right away, but they don't forget who stayed loyal and who didn't. That sense of loyalty runs deep, and when it's violated, it can take a long time to rebuild that bridge, if it's rebuildable at all. Another big one, being told to just relax or to stop worrying. For a six, their worry isn't some random distraction. It's their brain doing the work of anticipating and protecting and preparing. Telling them to stop feels like dismissing the very mechanism that they rely on to stay safe. And if you try to gaslight a six or feed them misinformation, oh no, that cuts to the core. Sixes want to trust the people and the systems that they rely on. When someone plays loose with the facts or makes them question their grip on reality, it undermines their whole sense of stability. And yeah, that'll make them angry. Finally, there's the frustration of being overlooked. Sixes often quietly carry the burden of making sure everything's okay, that no one falls through the cracks, and that all the bases are covered. But because they're behind the scenes doing it, their contributions can sometimes go unacknowledged. And over time, that invisibility breeds resentment. At their best, sixes don't just react in anger, they use it to draw boundaries, to advocate for fairness, and to defend what's right. But when they're pushed too far, that loyal heart can turn into a protective shield, keeping people out to avoid being hurt again. Understanding what makes a six angry is key to understanding how deeply they care and how much they're willing to fight for what and who matters to them. So let's talk about what anger can look like for a phobic six. At first glance, it might not even look like anger. It can be quiet, subtle, simmering beneath the surface. But make no mistake, it's there. It might start with silent stewing, keeping it all inside, but logging every hurt, every breach of trust, filing it away in case it happens again. Then comes the emotional cross examination, asking questions, lots of them, not to pick a fight, but to get clarity, to make sure that they're not being lied to or manipulated or left in the dark. Sometimes it's exit without exit, still showing up, but still fulfilling responsibilities, but emotionally checked out. In other words, they're in the room, but the trust is gone. Then there's the catastrophizing the fallout, wondering if this went wrong, what else is about to unravel? Is this the first domino or the last? And finally, calling in the committee, checking in with their trusted inner circle. Am I overreacting? Is it okay that I'm upset? Needing that outside validation before they take action. Phobic six anger isn't about lashing out, it's about trying to regain safety and certainty in a world that suddenly feels so unpredictable. It's protective, careful, and always scanning for where the next risk might be. And then we have the counterphobic six anger. That's a whole different energy. Instead of pulling back from fear, counterphobic sixes push towards it. Their anger moves outward, confronting what feels threatening head on. They start pushing back harder, challenging the story, poking holes in the explanations being given to them, refusing to back down. I don't trust this, and I'm not afraid to say it. Then there's the testing your limits, provoking, defying, intentionally seeing if you'll stand up to them or crumble under the pressure. It's kind of a way of asking, can I really trust you to hold the line? Fighting fire with fire. They meet perceived attacks with equal or greater force, determined not to be overpowered. If you're coming for me, expect me to come right back. We can also, in this counterphobic six anger, see them challenging the authority, calling out the leaders, the systems, or the rules that feel unjust or unreliable. Who made you the boss? And who's keeping you honest? And finally, taking control of the situation, stepping up to fix things themselves. If nobody else is handling this, I will. I'm not waiting to be let down. Counterphobic six anger isn't about picking fights for fun. It's about refusing to feel powerless. It's fierce, bold, and protective, driven by the same core fear as the phobic six, but expressed through challenge instead of caution. So, why do they do this? Imagine a type six in a full hazmat suit, head to toe protective gear, a face shield, a breather mask. That's what anger is like for them. It's not random or out of control, it's protective equipment. It's their way of moving through what feels like a dangerous, unpredictable situation without getting emotionally contaminated. Every reaction, the questioning, the distance, the pushback, it's part of this hazmat suit. A layer designed to shield them from betrayal and lies, being blindsided or left unsupported. When a six gets angry, whether they pull back like a phobic six or push forward like a counterphobic six, it's all about restoring safety. They're scanning for trustworthiness. Can I still count on this? Can I still count on you? Their anger isn't meant to destroy connection. It's meant to buy them some time, if you will, time to assess whether it's safe to unzip the suit, to take off the mask, to let someone get close again. Because underneath it all, they're not looking for a fight. They're looking for something solid to lean on, something that they can trust enough to finally step out of that protective gear and just breathe. So, what gives joy to a six? Let's talk about what brings the type six joy. Joy for a six comes from feeling safe, steady, and supported in a world that doesn't always offer that. A huge source of joy is being believed and trusted and counted on. When someone says, I believe you, I believe in you, I trust your judgment, I know that you've got my back. That affirmation isn't just nice, it's deeply stabilizing. It reassures them that they're part of something solid, dependable, and mutual. Sixes light up in relationships built on shared loyalty and commitment. They thrive when they know that they're not the only one holding the rope, not the only one doing the work to keep things together. That mutuality, that sense that we're in this together and we both mean it, is a profound joy for them. And believe it or not, collaborative problem solving is a source of joy too. Sixes love working together to anticipate challenges and troubleshoot issues and put protections in place. It's their way of loving, contributing, and feeling useful. They're happiest when they know that they're helping to prevent harm or to shore up something that's vulnerable. Another deep joy comes from moments of inner certainty, those rare, quiet moments when the mental chatter calms down, the doubts fade into the background, and they actually trust themselves. When that happens, there's a powerful sense of peace, strength, and clarity that fills them up. Joy for a six isn't flashy, it's steady and grounded and deeply relational. It's about trust earned, loyalty shared, and safety co created. And when they find those things, that joy becomes their anchor. At work, the type six brings a powerful mix of loyalty, caution, and quiet courage. They're not just punching a clock. They're scanning the landscape, thinking 5 steps ahead, and keeping an eye on the big picture to make sure nothing slips through the cracks. They show up as loyal collaborators. A six wants to be part of something that they can trust, something solid and dependable. When they believe in the mission and trust the leadership, they pour their whole heart into the work. They're the teammate who remembers the deadlines, checks the fine print, and makes sure that everything's and everyone is accounted for. They're also natural troubleshooters. A six notices risks that other people don't. They're the ones spotting the gaps, asking the tough questions, running the what ifs scenarios that keep problems from snowballing. Their caution isn't negativity, it's protection. But they need clear expectations and trustworthy leadership to thrive. If the roles are vague, if priorities keep shifting, or if leadership feels inconsistent, their anxiety kicks up. They start second guessing themselves, double checking everything, or pulling back from engagement with others. In unhealthy environments, a six might get stuck in worst case thinking or start micromanaging others from a place of fear. But when they're healthy and grounded and supported, they become loyal, courageous contributors to help create safe, collaborative spaces where everyone knows that they're cared for and covered. A six at their best doesn't just do the work, they hold the team together. Okay, now let's break down the wings and the arrows. Two key ways that we move around the Enneagram. Every type has like a home base, but none of us is locked in place. We shift and flex and respond to life through these built-in connections. That's what the wings and the arrows are all about. Your core type doesn't change, but it is influenced by the two types right next to it, your wings. These neighboring types color the way that your main type shows up in the world. Some folks lean really strongly towards one wing, while others pull from both of them at different times or in different settings. With your arrows, your type is also connected to other types through those directional lines, the ones that show up in growth or in stress. These arrows explain why sometimes you act like yourself and other times maybe not so much. When life gets hard, we tend to slide into the reactive patterns of our stress number. When we're grounded and thriving, we naturally tap into the strengths of our growth number. Understanding arrows and wings helps us to see our type as more flexible and responsive, less like a box and more like a map. It's a way to recognize your patterns, catch yourself before getting stuck in stress, and intentionally reach for the growth that's already wired inside of you. This is where the Enneagram moves from description to transformation. It's not just telling you who you are, it's showing you how to keep growing. So when the type six moves towards the three under stress, something interesting happens. Instead of leading from loyalty and caution, they start leaning into their performance and achievement. It's like their inner voice says, if I can prove myself, if I can win at this, maybe I won't have to feel so anxious. Instead of focusing on collaboration and shared responsibility, they get tunnel vision around how they are being perceived. They might start working longer hours, taking on more projects, or saying yes to things they don't actually have capacity for. Anything to keep up the appearance of competence and control. They hustle for validation. They start looking outward for reassurance, trying to collect gold stars and compliments or visible signs of success to quiet that nagging inner doubt. If people admire me, if they see me as successful, then maybe I'm safe. Maybe I'm okay. But this shift can also lead to burnout. Because at the end of the day, no amount of external achievement will fully answer that deeper question. Am I secure? Am I supported? Am I enough? When sixes recognize that they're sliding into this performance mode, it's a signal that they need to slow down, check in with their real needs, and reconnect to the trustworthy relationships and structures that actually make them feel safe, not just look successful. At their healthiest, they can borrow the confidence and the drive of the three without losing their heart for loyalty and collaboration. But when stress takes over, it's easy to get swept into achievement as a substitute for security. When a type 6 moves toward 9 in growth, everything starts to soften. Not in a passive way necessarily, but in a grounded and peaceful and deeply trusting way. Instead of constantly scanning the horizon for what might go wrong, they begin to settle in. Their mind quiets down. They stop rehearsing every possible danger or betrayal, and they begin to believe that maybe they are safe. Maybe things really are okay. This shift doesn't mean that they stop caring or stop being prepared or stop taking safety measures. It just means that they trust that they don't have to hold it all by themselves. They let other people carry some of the weight. They open their hands a little and release that hypervigilance and rediscover a gentler rhythm. They stop bracing for impact. They stop testing every relationship for cracks. And they stop over preparing for the worst. Instead, they rest in the present moment, trusting their inner wisdom to guide them instead of outsourcing it to every possible authority figure or system. And this inner peace translates outward. They become more open and receptive and easygoing. They let some things roll off their back more. They say yes to connection without waiting for the other shoe to drop. They stand in their truth without needing to prove or defend it. At their best, sixes moving towards 9 become steady, calming forces in their communities, bringing a grounded and dependable presence that invites other people into that same peace as well. That's the beauty of integration. They're still loyal, still protective, still thoughtful, but now it's coming from trust and not fear, from inner calm, not inner chaos. A 6 with a 5 wing, if we're talking about the wings now, the 6 with a 5 wing blends the loyalty and the caution of the type 6 with the analytical depth and independence of the type 5. This combination creates someone who's both relational and reserved, loyal and skeptical, protective and private. When a type 6 leans toward their 5 wing, things get a little more internal, a little more private, a little more mysterious. This is the 6 who's deeply individualistic. They want to belong, but on their own terms. They care what you think, but they're not about to change themselves just to fit in. They're private, protective of their inner world, and careful about who gets access. At the same time, they're detached, but romantic, craving connection, but staying just far enough away to stay safe, hoping someone will see past their distance and stick around long enough to earn their trust. They're creative thinkers with real emotional depth, but they don't always wear that depth on the surface. Their feelings are there, they're just filtered through thought, analysis, and reflection. before they ever get spoken aloud. Validation for this six comes through insight and uniqueness. They want to be seen as smart, capable, different, not just another face in the crowd. There's a beautiful blend of preparedness and privacy here. This six is ready for anything, but they're not advertising it. Their plans are tucked away, quiet, out of sight, just like their deeper emotions. And speaking of emotions, they're emotionally cautious. They feel plenty, but sharing those feelings takes time. That takes safety. That takes proof that you can be trusted not to misuse what they tell you. This is a six with a deeper inner life, a fiercely independent streak, and a quiet hope that someone will be patient enough to earn their loyalty and their vulnerability. The six with the seven wing is a fascinating mix of loyalty and liveliness. This is someone who wants to feel safe and secure, but doesn't want to miss out on the fun while they're doing it. They blend the steady commitment of six with the spark and curiosity of the seven. When a type six leans into their seven wing, things get a little more outgoing, a little more energetic, and a whole lot more fun. This is the six who's engaging, loyal, and restless. They're committed to their people, but they don't love sitting still. There's a constant pull between wanting to stay safe and wanting to stay moving. They're a practical optimist, hopeful, upbeat, but not naive. They believe things can work out, but they're also the one quietly double checking the details to make sure that things actually will work out. They're skeptical, but people oriented. They love being around others and they want to be part of the group, but they're not blindly trusting. Every relationship, every commitment gets evaluated. Is this safe? Is this solid? At the core, they want to be both safe and free. They don't want to feel trapped by fear, but they also don't want to ignore it. They're always walking the line between caution and courage. They're also a cheerful challenger. If something feels unfair or unjust, they'll speak up, but they'll do it with warmth and humor and charm. They know how to push back without losing connection. And perhaps my favorite, they plan for fun and disaster. This is the sixth who packs the snacks, the party games, the playlist, and the first aid kit, and the backup chargers, and the evacuation plan. All the things in the trunk at once, just in case. A six with a seven wing is like an energetic watchdog, playful, curious, and loyal, but always quietly making sure the ship is not about to sink. The type six subtypes. Each Enneagram has three subtypes, three ways of chasing the same core motivation, but with totally different vibes. The same longing for security, different methods of building the bunker. Self preservation sixes are the quiet protectors. They focus on physical safety, practical plans, and having their literal and metaphorical pantry stocked. This is the six who's got insurance paperwork in a labeled binder, emergency snacks in the car, and three ways out of any situation. They come across steady, reliable, and responsible. But underneath, there's a constant hum of worry that if they don't plan ahead, no one else will, and everything could just fall apart. They want to be secure because the world feels unpredictable, and they'd rather be over-prepared than caught off guard. Social sixes anchor themselves in community. This is the six who looks for safety in the group, the shared values, the leaders that they trust, the rules that everyone agrees to follow. They're loyal, to the cause and committed to the team and protective of the collective. Their trust is earned slowly, but once it's earned, like I've said before, they're all in. They don't want to go it alone. They want to know they're surrounded by people who will have their back, and in return, they'll defend the group with everything they've got. The sexual or one-to-one sixes, oh, they come in hot. These are the intense ones, the challengers, the ones who test you first just to make sure you're solid. They're bold, provocative, and fiercely protective of the people they love. Their loyalty runs deep, but they don't hand it over easily. You've got to earn it. They want connection that's strong enough to survive their doubts, their challenges, their need to push and pull. If you prove yourself, you've got an ally for life. But betray them, game over. Each subtype that you see here is trying to build security. They just build it in different ways, through preparation, through belonging, or through loyalty forged in fire. Finding your inner six is about more than identifying with fear or anxiety. It's about recognizing the ways that you've tried to protect yourself, hold it all together, and stay loyal even when things feel shaky. Everyone has a six inside them, no matter what number you identify with. The Enneagram is about the human experience. So it's important that we all look for our inner six so that we can appreciate these amazing qualities. Ask yourself, when have you found yourself questioning someone's intentions, even though they hadn't given you a clear reason to doubt them? What were you protecting in that moment? When have you mentally played out every possible worst case scenario, not to be negative, but to stay ahead of the danger you feared might be coming? How did that vigilance help you? And how did it exhaust you? When have you wanted so badly to trust someone, to lean in, to feel safe in their care, but you held back because the fear of betrayal felt stronger than the hope of belonging? When have you tested someone's loyalty, not to push them away, but just to see if they'd stick around? And here's the hardest question. Where in your life could you start trusting your own wisdom, your own courage, your own heart without needing constant reassurance from the outside? That's the journey for the six. Learning that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing to show up anyway, again and again, trusting that you're stronger, wiser, and more supported than your doubts would have you believe. Empathy for a six starts with understanding that their anxiety doesn't just come and go, it moves in waves. Sometimes the waters are calm, sometimes the wind picks up, sometimes the waves feel like they're crashing harder than they should. But the six is still out there in the boat, still rowing, still showing up, still trying to keep it all afloat. When a six questions you, when they doubt, when they need extra reassurance, it's because they're already weathering their own internal storm and they're checking to see if you'll stay steady beside them. What they need from you isn't for you to tell them that the sea is calm. What they need is to know that you're willing to stay in the boat, even when the waves get choppy. It's easy to see a six's questions or doubts as lack of trust in you, but often it's not about you. It's about the fragile trust that they're trying to hold in themselves, in the world, in safety itself. And every time you show up with patience and clarity and consistency, you help steady the boat a little more, not by making the sea calm, but by proving that they're not rowing alone. So let's talk about how to love your six. Loving a type six means seeing the loyalty beneath their worry, the courage beneath their doubt, and the protector's heart beneath their questions. Respect their need for reassurance, clarity, and trustworthy connection. That's not insecurity. Don't shame them for asking, "Are we okay?" or "What's the plan?" That's not insecurity. That's a deep desire to feel safe enough to stay open. Sixes help us stay prepared. They notice the risks that we miss. They hold the line when things get messy. They're loyal to what's right, even when it's hard. They're the ones quietly protecting the people and the principles that they've chosen to stand with. Acknowledge the way that they are courageous guardians who show up, even when fear whispers worst case scenarios. Protectors of trust who offer loyalty, honest questions, and quiet bravery in the face of uncertainty. Love them for their devotion and dependability, but remind them they don't have to keep proving their worth. They don't have to overfunction, over prepare, or overgive to be loved. Tell them that they're safe. Tell them that they're valued. Tell them they're supported, even when their doubts make it hard for them to believe you. And help them remember that they don't have to question everything to stay secure. Sometimes trusting themselves, trusting you, and trusting the moment is the bravest and safest choice of all. So now let's see just how much six energy you are carrying around. This quiz is designed to help you get a sense of whether type six is a strong part of who you are. We'll read 15 statements that reflect the typical thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of a six as it is recorded in this, The Wisdom of the Enneagram, this Riso Hudson book. For each one of these statements, you'll rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 meaning not at all true, and 5 meaning very true. And then we'll add up the scores and see where you land. Now, I've copied the scale over to the next couple of slides so that you can keep track of which number stands for what. Just remember that this isn't a test, this is an awareness tool. So some of you might score high and immediately think, "Oh, yep, that explains a lot." And others might see pieces of themselves here and there, but find that they resonate more strongly with a different type. Either way, the goal isn't to put you in a box, it's to give you language for the patterns that already exist inside you. So be honest with your answers, trust your gut on each statement, and let's see whether the type six is central to how you see the world, manage uncertainty, and build trust. All right, I'm going to read these out loud. And the scale is down at the bottom there on the slide. Number 1, I am attracted to authority, but distrustful of it at the same time. Number 2, I am very emotional, although I don't often show what I feel except to those I'm close with. And even then, not always. Number 3, if I make a mistake, I fear that everyone is going to jump down my throat. Number 4, I feel most secure doing what's expected of me than striking out on my own. Number five, I may not always agree with the rules, and I don't always follow them, but I at least want to know what they are. Number six, I tend to have strong first impressions about people that are difficult to change. Number seven, there are a few people I really look up to. They're sort of my heroes. Number eight, I don't like making big decisions, but I certainly don't want anyone else to make them for me. Number nine, some people see me as jittery and nervous, but they don't know the half of it. Number 10, I know how much I mess up, so being suspicious of what others are up to just makes sense to me. Number 11, I want to trust people, but often find myself questioning their motives. Number 12, I am a real hard worker. I keep plodding along until the job gets done. Number 13, I sound out the opinions of people I trust before I have to make a big decision. Number 14, it's really weird. I can be skeptical, even cynical, about all kinds of things, and then turn around and fall for something hook, line, and sinker. Number 15, anxiety seems to be my middle name. All right. So here we have the score key. Add your scores for the 15 statements for type 6. Your result will be between 15 and 75. The following guidelines may help you discover or confirm your personality type. If you got 15, you're probably not a type 1, 2, or 6. 16 to 30, you're probably not a type 6. 31 to 45, you most probably have similar challenges as a type 6 and or you have a type 6 parent. 46 to 60, you most likely have a 6 component, whether that means you are a 6 or you have 6 as a wing or you go to the 6 in stress or growth. 61 to 75, you are most likely a type 6. But you could still be another type if you're thinking too narrowly about the 6. So, why this caution? Before you decide you're a type 6, let's slow it down for a moment just to unpack why we give this caution. It's easy to jump into conclusions if you're looking at surface level behaviors. Sure, you worry. You ask a lot of questions. You double check things. Maybe you're the one always scanning for what could go wrong. But the Enneagram is less interested in what you do and much more interested in why you're doing it. Many types can look cautious or skeptical on the outside. Lots of people prepare for problems. Lots of people stay loyal to friends or groups. This doesn't automatically make them a 6. The core motivation of a six isn't just I get anxious. It's I want to feel safe, secure, and supported, and I'm not sure I can count on that. It's wondering deep down whether anyone or anything is solid enough to trust. It's needing backup to feel like you can even relax. So if you scored high on the quiz, that's a meaningful clue. But don't just stop right there. Ask yourself, is my questioning and doubt driven by a deep need to feel protected? Am I looking for someone or something to lean on because standing alone feels risky? Or am I mistaking worry for fear, skepticism for caution, loyalty for dependency? The point isn't to rush into a label, it's to stay open, stay reflective, and let the layers unfold over time. Finding your type is less about landing on an answer and more about learning how to ask the right questions. Sixes are some of the most loyal and perceptive people on the Enneagram, and yet they can easily mistake themselves for other types. Sixes often mistype as fours, especially if they are emotionally intense or self questioning or wrestling with inner doubt. But here's the key difference: fours are driven by a longing to find identity and emotional significance. Sixes are driven by a longing to feel safe and secure in an unpredictable world. A four says, who am I really? A six says, who can I count on? And can I count on myself? Sixes also commonly mistype as eights, especially the counterphobic sixes, who meet fear by leaning into defiance and confrontation or boldness. But motivation is the thing that separates them. Eights are driven by a need for control and independence. Sixes are driven by a need for protection and trustworthy support. An eight says, no one's going to control me. A six says, I need to know someone's in my corner or I'll have to be ready for anything. Sixes may also mistype as ones, particularly if they are conscientious and rule following or focused on doing things the right way. But again, we go back to motivation. Ones are driven by a need to be good and ethical and correct. Sixes are driven by a need for security, clarity, and dependable structures. A one says, I have to live up to the standard. A six says, I need to know the rules are solid and I need to trust the system won't fail me. On the flip side, the twos, fives, and ones are types that often mistype as sixes, especially if they're anxious, loyal, or prone to overthinking. A protective two might think that they are a six because they're scanning for relational safety, not realizing that their core drive is connection, not security. A vigilant five might feel like a six because they're cautious and questioning, but their core motivation is conserving inner resources, not seeking external support. And a principled one might resemble a six in their carefulness, but their motivation is moral rightness, not safety through trust. So if you're trying to figure it out, don't stop at the surface traits. Ask, what's the fear under all this questioning? What am I trying to secure? Because sixes aren't just cautious or loyal or anxious. They're navigating the world with one central concern: can I trust this? Can I trust you? And maybe, hardest of all, can I trust myself? And now we're going to close out with a little bit of humor by looking at the book that every six wants to read. If Type 6 had to pick one book to carry everywhere, it would be this one. It is called Worry Workbook for literally every possible disaster. Here's what's inside. Chapter 1, just checking in, text templates for every level of anxiety. Chapter 2, trust or denial, a flowchart for navigating red flags. Chapter 3, never sleep when it's time to review every possible disaster. Chapter 4, interpret we need to talk without dying inside. Chapter 5, next text survival guide when haha or lol feel personal. Chapter 6, create your ultimate appliance warranty binder. Chapter 7, rehearsing arguments that might never happen. Chapter 8, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D, and beyond. Chapter 9, packing for every weather possibility. And Chapter 10, creating a secret escape plan. Now, if we have any sixes on this call, tell me you wouldn't want to read this. This is the inner world of a six. Every scenario imagined, every risk accounted for, every plan ready just in case. And yeah, it's funny, but it's also kind of genius because the six isn't just worrying to worry. They are preparing and protecting and watching out for the people they love. And when the unexpected happens, you're going to be so, so glad they packed the snacks and the extra batteries and the backup charger. Because the six in your life, they've already thought of what you never saw coming and they've got your back.